What's going on, guys? Spud here, and welcome to another episode of the Roundup. We are now on our 10th episode already, and that's kind of crazy, to be honest. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the fact that LAG could make champs still. Out of nowhere, they get 2-3-0s this weekend. OpTic lose another 2 Game 5s. That is 4 Game 5s in a row they've now lost. Why are they so bad at search and destroy? And we'll also be looking at the standings, as this is probably going to be the closest race to champs I think the CDL will ever see, with 20 points separating 5 to 11, whereas only the top 8 get into champs. So the LAN is going to have huge impact. I feel like there's only going to be one team potentially that won't be affected by the LAN if they get top 12. Obviously, if you are new, please drop a subscription to the channel. It is really appreciated. And like the video if you enjoy. We're also going to be doing a bit of like a pre-roster mania type of video where I might put a few names. I've got a tier list with all 12 teams, and it's basically which players could we see on these rosters next year, just like some drafts. Obviously, it's still in the Major 4 split for another week, and then there's Major 4, and then there's Champs, and then non-CDL there's the Esports World Cup, which we're going to do roundup videos on. But yeah, let's just get straight into it. The first thing I want to mention is it's not really Rostermania, but Accuracy's back already. Obviously, family issues, which he has specified regarding his mum, but she's out of hospital now. So he's returning to the roster because originally people thought it was a permanent change, but it was just a 14-day contract, similar to Purge on Miami Heretics. And it's good to see Accuracy back. Yeah, he's not been doing very well since Major 1, but hopefully he can push them to champs. I thought Spark played quite well in both series. I didn't really get to watch much, if any, of the series against Ultra, because I was out watching the England game. I didn't get to watch much of Thieves versus FaZe either. Those are like the only two though. Normally, I watch every CDL match. But yeah, it's obviously Accuracy's leadership is really important for this ROKKR team. As they try to make champs, it'll be really close. But yeah, he is back. Regarding Spart though, it sounds like that they face at admins for challenges and not letting him take part in the next event, which is really harsh. But the face at admins, to be honest, the clowns. So yeah, let's just get straight into the matches. So we started off on Friday with Minnesota ROKKR versus New York Subliners, and it went all the way to around 11. And to be honest, the ROKKR threw this because they were 4-1 up. They had map control on the round 11, and they lost. I mean, this first map, I mean, Standy got 3 kills in a hard point. He dropped a .18. He went 3-17. That is hilarious, to be honest. 3-17. That is the 3rd lowest hardpoint score for a team in CDL history. 38. I mean, Hydra almost went triple positive. Sib went double positive. Skies almost went double positive. Yeah, it was a massacre, and a very quick massacre as well. And then out of nowhere, Minnesota ROKKR just turned it around with the search and destroy. Standy and Linz getting 10 kills each. Kismet 13 and 7. Hydra having a bit of a quiet map there for his standards. And then the control was dominant from Minnesota, and I'm thinking this could be interesting. But then it was a good comeback on Karachi for New York, and then they take it all the way to around 11, whereas I say it was 4-1 at one point, and then they won 4 in a row. I am going to actually play the final round here.
Had Linz hands. Inside the middle alley.
Before I do that, I'm just going to move this down slightly. I always forget to do that when I first play the video.
You had Standy B side, the other two were A, but it looks like this is just going to be maybe an early, fast 4-on-4 at A.
Here we go. Here we go. And it's Sim. Right back to shooting. The hard counter is here. What do you do if you are ROKKR? You've invested in this.
You hit your nades, you got to go, I feel like. Sim is still weak.
He's on 50 HP. He's able to wrap around. Finally able to deal with him. You bring this back to a 3 versus 3.
So I just want to pause it there. So obviously Sib gets blood, but then he can't get out. He probably had a chance to get out, but he didn't. And the trade, and then
one mid-map in Hydra.
And then this is where it just falls apart for ROKKR.
I mean, you see the way Gunless and Lins are back. Just trying not to get picked. Standy, we're seeing. Skies is watching the long flank. But it should come down to the timing Hydra gets middle alley.
So you can see, obviously, Hydra's there. If they go through mid, Hydra probably gets one, but then he probably gets traded. So that it would have been a 2v2.
Okay, so maybe it's a double fake. We're going to go back to A through mid.
Oh, the fake on top of the fake on top of the fake.
I think it might work out. This timing might work out. Hydra is through. He's taking B side. So you're going to have a 2-on-3 for a little bit over towards A.
What's the timing going to be?
York just has no info right now.
You poke out. Kismet able to put you away. Hydra now going to pounce. All going to be on the Lins now. 10 seconds to go. Last alive. Oh, God. Oh, God. He's able to kill him. 1 versus 1. He gets the bomb. Not going to go for the plan. Trying to chase him down. He goes left. Player went right. Round is done. And Subliners get the win. What the hell? Was that round 11?
If that first burst, it like...
That was so close. I mean, Linz almost popped off, but he just went the wrong way. He went to the left. I mean, if he had 5.1, he could have planted, to be honest. He should have planted, but maybe he didn't think he had enough time. But yeah, realistically, that was a mistake from the ROKKR. They left it too late. They should have went to B. Just took a long way around. Took the long route, but they didn't. And ultimately, Minnesota take that dub, and they'd be very happy with that, obviously. Not New York, sorry. Minnesota didn't take any dub. OpTic, what is going on? What is going on? They lose 3-2 to the Royal Ravens in a huge 10 points for the Ravens, especially because they lost against Miami, which we'll talk about shortly. Shotzi played well. Ravens played well. I know Claes is obviously 0.8, but he did pop off in that map 5. Realistically, this should have been a 3-1 to the Ravens, but they threw that Rio. I had no expectation of them winning the Vista, and they did. They beat OpTic 6-0 on high rise. The control was close. The Ravens are about this close off getting defense around 5. 0.5 though, not good. And then, yeah, they threw the Rio, and then they win 6-4 in the search. My only issue with, obviously, you know, a big Clay fan, is his numbers in respawns just aren't that good. His search was really good in this series, but his respawn numbers were really not. And he struggles against the big teams, against the top teams. I mean, I say top teams, OpTic are 1 and 4, but they are obviously still a top 4 team. But it's looking like they're going to be in losers bracket, potentially, which is going to have huge impact on the CHAMPS race. I just want to show round 3 and round 11 of this. So I want to show, obviously, the Clace, the 3-piece, and the double nade finish.
A little bit cleaner for Ravens, but now back to it for OpTic Texas. Trophy system now available on both sides of things. That's going to stop Ravens now from falling to the nades, and it's aggression again.
Oh, it's Shotzi. Clay! Whoa, against the pair! 1v1. And it's Clay v Dashi. These two, no love lost, and you know that Eubanks is feeling good after that one.
Obviously a huge 1v3. I'm not sure what Pred was doing, to be honest. But yeah, like really, really good from Clay there. Then let's just get to the round 11 after this advert. Oh, there's two. Brilliant. But yeah, it was a good series. This obviously Ravens could not afford to be reverse swept again by a big team, and the fact that that was 5 game 5s in a row.
9 and 3 for finds himself home.
Attacking round now for Ravens. B has been the one with the phone. A great deal, and there is an air missile. Felony sends it in. It's a 4v2 in favor of Ravens.
It wasn't a cruise, it was the holy hand grenade. The trophies were too late, and fellow, my god, that is the series, and it is done. The Ravens, it's a tated.
3 only sends it over. Trophy system.
So the trophy was about a second away, potentially. If that had landed a second earlier, that wouldn't have killed both players. So it's a mistake, really, from OpTic for not having their stuff down on time. But yeah, really good search, really, from the Ravens there to get 10 huge points. And then we had... I'll briefly go through this. It was just dominant. Boston are dog shit. Their last 2 games are against Ravens and OpTic and Ravens. I think OpTic will beat them, even though OpTic are not playing well. I think if Ravens lose to Boston, they won't make champs. I think if they beat Boston, that'd give them 3 wins. They might be on the cusp of winners bracket, but then they might get a phase or something in round 1. And then it's would they get OpTic in losers. We're going to talk about the potential for the losers bracket and stuff after the matches and predictions. It'll probably be a bit of a longer one this week than the last couple. And then we had Ravens 1 against 3 for the Heretics. Disappointing. I thought Ravens, if they won this series, that'd push Miami in the boundary of might not make champs. The AR's not shooting for Ravens, whereas they were shooting for the Heretics. And it's another good series out of Metals, who's definitely been one of the more improved players since Major 1's qualifiers. Since the Major 1 land, sorry. Round 11, Search. It was almost a 2v4 clutch for the Ravens in that round 11. Gwyn had 14 kills. Control was dominant, but the hard points they were lacking. And they just didn't have the firepower they did against OpTic. And it's just like, what has happened to OpTic, really, is the main thing. Now, this one, I actually had Breach. It was the last time I was going to put a Breach win. I've done it about 5 times, and they've lost every single time. And they lose 3-0 to the Gorillas. And I think everyone was good on the Gorillas. I don't think anyone actually played well on Boston. I know Major Maniac has a 1 KD, but they got slammed in the control and slammed in the search and slammed in the hard point. But yeah, really good series out Flames and Diamond Con on the ARs. It's just pure dominance. Flames almost got a 4 KD in the inversion, and that is 10 huge points for the Gorillas, because if they lost this, they were out of the race, to be honest. And then we had, I think this was probably the second most hyped match of the weekend, behind OpTic New York. Maybe this was the most hyped, and it finished 3-2 to the Legion. A close hard point. And then it was almost a reverse sweep from Seattle Surge. I mean, they destroyed them in that map 4 and the map 3. But Vegas managed to close out in the search, even with Nero getting 1 kill. 0-4 there on 13 though. But yeah, it was a good performance from these top 2 for Seattle. And Attach, brilliant season from Attach. I think he'll definitely be on some roster next year. Whoever it is remains to be seen, obviously, but we're going to talk about roster mania. We're going to build some drafts. They're going to be horrendous, some of the teams, I know. And then we had Toronto versus LA Thieves, which was actually quite a close series in terms of score. I mean, 22 on there, 51 not as close. Round 5 and a round 11. But another good series out of Envoy. You know, he's starting to be better in the respawns. I think he's quite good at 6-star. If you look at his 6-star stats, That seems to kind of be his map. But yeah, Ultra second best team in the game right now behind FaZe. They'll obviously be hoping for another major. They'd like Major 4, but obviously they want the big one, which is Champs. And then we had Ultra versus ROKKR, so I did not watch any of this series, but... Oh, I didn't realise that was so close. I knew that there was a 100-point club for the first game, for the first map. Scrap went double positive. Spa actually did alright, to be fair. The submachine guns were terrible for Minnesota. Round 11 search. A lot of round 11 searches this week. Oh. Oh dear. Lynn's dropped 8 and 28 on the high rise, whereas Gunless 30 and 19. Well done, Gunless. And then this was really close. Oh, I know, I did hear that CleanX got the kill record. 46 kills. Wow, that is class from CleanX. Standing on, not having a good series. The SMG's just not firing for Minnesota. And that they weren't expected to win that one, but I think the fact that they were 4-1 up against New York on a map 5 and they've come away with 0 CDL points will be really disappointing for them. And then we had LA Thieves versus FaZe. Again, I didn't see this one, but I was surprised to see the LA Thieves winning the Vista. I'm not sure what happened here with FaZe, but they just weren't shooting, whereas everyone was shooting, especially Nasty with a 1.8. Dominance on the search for FaZe. I can't remember them playing Karachi Search and Destroy that much, FaZe. I might have a look at their record on that map. And then a map 5 on the high rise. And quite a close 6-star, but Joe Deceives going double negative. It's just a lot of these players in the bottom 8 just aren't consistent. Ultimately. Right. Search and Destroy Karachi. Yes, they've actually only played it 6 times this season. So I didn't think they'd played it much. And that was their 5th win. So they're 5-1. So maybe it just gets vetoed against them a lot, but interesting. OpTic, what can I even say? The map 1 was so good. By the way, just obviously shout out to Dashi, good series from him. Sib had a really good series. Kismet had a good series. And yeah. First map though, Dashi 32 and 14 carried them to the win pretty much. Round 11 again. It's just ridiculous. They were 5-4 up as well, OpTic. 5-4 up and they lose 6-5. Round 5. I mean, this was just the Sib show in this map. He was so good. I mean, obviously, like Hydra played well, Dashi played well in this map as well, but Sib was... I think Sib had a 12 streak, but it was a reverse sweep in the control. A really close Rio. It was a good comeback from OpTic because they started so slow. And then another Search and Destroy loss. It's hard to really... And they've got Ultra as well with Boston this weekend. If they don't beat Boston, I'm already really worried about OpTic now. But if they lose to Boston Breach, who have 14 losses in a row, yeah, I think something majors. They might have to change something, honestly, and I hope that's not the case because I really like this roster, but they just can't keep doing this. Was this one of the shocks of the weekend, though? I think it was. Los Angeles Guerrillas sweeping the Legion. I mean, it was quite a close series, really. You know, it was a close map 1, a close map 2, and a close map 3. But ultimately, it's a 3-0 and 10 massive points for LAG, which puts them, like I mentioned earlier, right in the running for a champ spot. Diamond Con had a really good series. He was good in both series. He's actually going to be my MVP for the week, Diamond Con. Yeah, superb weekend of COD from him. Obviously, he looked really good in Major 1. But yeah, I mean, Fame got 42 kills in the high rise. Diamond Con got 36. It was a huge 5 rounds of high rise control. But it is going to be 10 CDL points for Los Angeles Guerrillas. And obviously they'll be really happy with that. Who wouldn't be? Everyone, including myself. I actually had them behind Boston. I had Boston as a better team than them going into this split. I really don't know why I did that. You know, hands up, I apologise, LAG, because they've shocked me. That win against the Ravens was huge. 2 huge wins this weekend. But again, will they make champs is a different question. It kind of comes down to the upcoming games and who their last games against Seattle Surge. So we'll have to see on that. Anyway, predictions for this week, and then we'll go through the standings, the Major 4 standings, the overall standings, and then we'll do some Rostermania stuff. But this is the biggest game, I think, of the weekend. No, maybe not, actually. In terms of champs qualification, this is probably the biggest. I don't know, actually. I mean, we've got OpTic Ultra and FaZe Ultra on the same weekend, so it's a good weekend of COD, but whoever wins this, I think, is in champs, because they're both on 160. So Miami versus Seattle, I've got Seattle winning this 3-1, and that'd put them on 170 points. FaZe versus Ultra, I think, will be a close one, but I'm going to go 3-2 to FaZe. I think FaZe will close out in the search. But it'll be a really good one. This is another really good game, to be honest, because the 5 points separate them. Vegas Legion versus LA Thieves. And I have got... I'm not sure now, just because of the fact that Vegas just got destroyed. Well, not destroyed, but they just lost 3-0 to LAG. It's really tough to decide this. I think it'll be 3-1 to someone. I don't think we'll go to a game 5. I'm going to go 3-1 to Vegas, though. I'll go 3-1 Vegas. Saturday, FaZe versus Miami. I think this will be 3-0 FaZe. LAG versus Seattle. Oh, I'm not sure now. I'm gonna go 3-1 Seattle, though. I do think Seattle will win this game. I don't know if 3 wins will be enough for winners bracket, because there could be a couple of teams on 3 wins that are like 7-10. So we'll have to just see. Obviously, next week we'll do our Major 4 predictions, which will be fun. And who makes champs, obviously, from that. OpTic Boston 3-0 OpTic. They've been terrible at Search, but Boston are worse. Another huge, and then these are the last games. There's 4. Is that 4? Oh no, there's 4 on the Saturday, so it's just because of the UK times. Legion versus ROKKR, this is huge for who makes champs as well. I'm gonna go 3. It's gonna be 3-2. We're going to a game 5 on this one. I'm gonna go 3-2 to Legion, but it could go either way. OpTic versus Ultra, 3-1 to Toronto. I'm not gonna. I've predicted OpTic to win every game so far, and they've won 1. I don't think there's an issue with predicting them to win every game except this one, but yeah, we'll just have to see. Ravens versus Breach. This is huge for Ravens champs hopes. I'm gonna go 3-1 to Ravens. I think that honestly, I have this feeling that Ravens might struggle, but they'll get the job done. And then LA Thieves versus New York Subliners to finish off the online qualifiers for this CDL season, which they've gone quite quick, I think. We need 5 majors plus next season, I think, even if it's 5 online games. I will go 3-1 New York. So I just want to show the Major 4 standings. So obviously FaZe are going to be in winners, Toronto and New York are going to be in winners, Boston are going to be in losers, and then everyone else can get up to 3 wins still. So then it comes probably to head-to-head. OpTic's obviously head-to-head is really bad in this because they lost to ROKKR, they lost to Ravens, they lost to Legion. They only beat Miami. If OpTic are in losers bracket, someone outside of the top, well, it'll be someone outside of FaZe Ultra in New York, most likely, will have to play OpTic, and if they're trying to make champs, I don't care if OpTic finish this split 2-5, or even 1-6, you do not want to play OpTic. You just don't, alright? Yeah, there's no fans. There's not going to be any fans, so it'll be a bit of a different environment for a LAN. It's still a LAN. The game's slightly different playing it on LAN than online. Well, there might be some teams that would rather be in losers bracket and play like potentially like a Gorillas if they make it into winners, or a Miami, or even like an LA Thieves. Then they'd rather play them than go into winners, play FaZe, get 3-0'd, and then have to play OpTic potentially. So I think based off my predictions, we'd have Boston in losers, OpTic in losers, Minnesota in losers, and I think LA Thieves in losers, which then would mean it would most likely be these 7 plus Ravens in winners, just because Ravens have Boston. I see that as a 10 points. I thought that against LAG and they lost. If they lose to Boston, they are not making champs because they're going to need at least the top 6, and I still don't think that would be enough. I think if they get, I think 170 is the cutoff now, potentially, not 165. That's why I think whoever wins Seattle versus Miami will be in. So, these are the current standings. These are the current standings going into the last week of online qualifiers. It is so close. 20 points separate 5th to 11th. Honestly, the amount of wins that OpTic have given to these lower teams, and obviously New York giving that win to Legion. Who did Toronto? And even Toronto giving that win to Surge, the reverse sweep, has made it so interesting for who makes champs. Obviously, these teams that have played Boston, it's a free 10 points for every single one so far. Will Ravens follow that up? That would give them 150 points. If they get top 8 at LAN, 165, it'll be close. I don't know if it'll be enough. It could be, depending on who gets top 12. If they get a top 6, they'll make it. With OpTic being in losers bracket as well, and FaZe, Toronto, New York most likely to be the top 3, that means that whoever 4th and 5th seed are in the major will play each other, which means there is going to be a team outside of the top 4 that'll guarantee to be make top 6 in the winners bracket. They'll go into the next round of the winners bracket, whoever that team is. So I think that could potentially be like a Seattle versus, I don't even know basically, but if that happens, I think that this champs race could just be mental. If I do my prediction for who's going to make champs now, obviously FaZe, Toronto, OpTic, New York. Obviously OpTic's bad form as well, an online split, has made them be 3rd seed now, and I think that's going to be where they'll start, which means they'll play 6th seed, which will probably be, I think, probably Miami Heretics, because I think Seattle will be 5th seed, but it could be a Legion, we just don't know. Who else is going to make champs outside the top 4? Seattle Surge. Well, Seattle Surge or Miami, based on who wins on Friday, I think it is. I think both of them will make champs. I think Vegas Legion will make champs, even though they had a bit of a bad series against LAG. I really want Ravens, but I'm just not sure. The thing is, LA Thieves' LAN record is top 12, top 12, top 8. Whereas Ravens is top 8, top 6, top 8. So for that reason, I'm going to put Ravens. But honestly, it could be Gorillas, it could be ROKKR, it could be anyone. Now the fact that LAG have just got 20 CDL points and 2 wins, you could even say that LAG, they got 2 top 6s at the start, then they got a top 12. Honestly, it's so unpredictable. I think it'll be a bit easier next week when we've got the locked in points for these bottom 8, but I love this champs race. It's so fun to watch. I love watching 2 of the bottom 8 face each other. Like Seattle versus Vegas was really good. Seattle versus Miami should be really good. It's obviously you want to see the top teams play because they're the best, but at the same time, they're not always the most exciting to watch. But no, that's not true actually. They are obviously exciting to watch, but Right, anyway, without further ado, it's not, for some reason, it's not letting me. There we go. Right, we're going to do a quick tier list. Basically, who could we see on these rosters next year? So I'm going to just do the FaZe one. I don't think FaZe will change unless they have a really bad champs. I actually also agree that OpTic, yeah, they've had a bit of a bad split, but realistically, who is there to replace? People say, oh, maybe Kenny. Yeah, I wouldn't. I think this team's good. New York, I don't think Hydra will leave New York subliners. I'm just going to do him on his own for now. Scrap, I think he'll stay at Toronto Ultra. I actually think Toronto Ultra will keep the same team for next year, unless they're able to get Hydra. I think, and I know you could say, oh, maybe they'll change Insight, but I think they're happy with the team chemistry. So I'm going to keep the Ultra as well. I'm going to put Dan Ghosty on LA Thieves. I didn't make the order, it's just what it was already at. Miami Heretics, obviously, again, it will be Spanish. I'm going to put Vickle in. Am I going to put Vickle in with Real? I'll put Lucky and Real in. For now. Obviously, there's a few Spanish players in challenges, but it's going to be quite hard, obviously. There's going to be a few names on this tier list that aren't even, like, they're not even on the list that could get in. London, it says London Royal Ravens, but obviously it's Carolina. I'm going to put Gwyn and TJ in. I just don't think that there's going to be any changes in these three teams. And I'm not sure. Kismet, it depends Kismet, really. I think they'll probably still keep Kismet over bringing someone like Gwyn in. But obviously that's not always guaranteed. I think Sib should stay. And this is where the first change comes in for a top 4 team. And it probably won't happen. I get that. But I'm actually going to put Dylan Attach on the New York subliners for next year. Obviously, there's Ghosty as well. So you could either pick either of them. The only reason I think they might go for Attach is just because I don't really know, really. I just feel like LA Thieves, the contract situation could be different, but I reckon that Dan Ghosty might be tied to a 2-year or a 1+1. Whereas I feel like they'll activate that because he's been their best player. Whereas Legion's a bit of it's a shit org. It just is. It is a shit org. So I think if they would release everyone anyway, Attach will be on Legion next year on a new contract, or maybe in New York, or you could even see maybe a Toronto. We'll have to just see. I'm hoping that we do see like quite a few changes, but obviously we can't be too. We've got to try and be like not realistic, but wait, where's Seattle Surge? Wait, they're missing 2 teams off this list. I've just realised. I've just realised that. Right. I'll just add 2 rows. Sorry about that. Surge and LAG. Right. I thought that was a bit odd. But LAG, I think, honestly, I think we'll see Estriel and DiamondCon back. But that could be it. I think Beans will stay on Boston. Hopefully that's it, though. I reckon we could see maybe a Kremp on Boston. Obviously, no, actually, I'm going to put him back. There's quite a lot of players here. There's a few, like I said, that aren't on there that maybe I would have included. But I'm just going to do it based off the players that are included on this list. But obviously, there's people that could definitely be in. Like Mythic, for example. Wee Man, there's a few decent EU players. Right, Hicksy has to be in, and I think him and Beans obviously were on war for a bit at the start of the year. I would have those two in the team. I think Hicksy should be in the league. I have this feeling that we might see Donny Temp back in the league next season on the Legion. And I think he'll be joined by one of these two veteran ARs, Clayster or Fellow. Obviously, he's worked with Clay before, so we could maybe see that. Surge, I'm actually going to go for 04. I'm not sure about the rest, though. It's really tough. Obviously, you know, it's just obviously like a brief introduction type of thing, but I'm going to put Vivid on Legion. I think he should be in the league. And I'm going to put Johnny. And do you know what? Where's Gio? Who's on the team now? I'm taking Vivid off. Basically, it's no, that I don't think that'd work. We're gonna do it because Temp's got Legion in his blood, let's say. So it's basically this. It's the Las Vegas Legion from now, but I don't know. Will that happen? It's kind of hard to see like many changes because realistically, you don't want to play for LAG, most likely. Right, I'm gonna go for Slasher. Has to be on one of these teams. He's never gonna go back to Boston. Slasher, 04, a Boozer, and Hugh. Now, I know we probably won't see that, but I quite like that. So it's basically Slasher for Brezzy. Yeah, I don't expect it to happen, but you never know. Where's Vivid? I'm going to put Vivid on the LAG roster. And I'm going to put him with... I know this is going to go horribly wrong, obviously. That's why we're doing it, ultimately. Now it's tough. Now it's tough. There is actually quite a lot of players. Right, I'm going to put Vickle in the Heretics. And I'm going to put Metals. I think they'll just run it back, to be honest. There's so many players that are going to miss out. I mean, what's going to happen with Illy? Because, oh, it just cut there. I'm going to put Illy on a roster, obviously. Do you know what? Let's put him with Beans on the breach. He probably won't accept this team, but we're going to do it anyway, because it's just first thoughts. And we're going to put Illy with... We need another SMG, but we need someone that's like a really good SMG. I don't really want to see Snoopy on the bridge, or maybe even in the CDL next year. I just don't think he's good enough. Could we maybe see Kremp? Back on breach. Yeah, let's go Kremp. Look, it probably won't work, but like I said, it's just the draft, isn't it? Dylan Rex, I'm gonna put in. And let me finish LAG off first. Let's put Fellow in the LAG team. Just because why not? I can't see Arcity's going back. And then obviously I know taking Skies out, he's probably not gonna be like thrilled, let's say, but I'm not putting him in this one. It's just because I've got to scroll off. I'm going to put Skies with the Thieves. I feel like Thieves are going to have to make a better roster next year. Now that they're getting some of the money back as well from investing into the CDL. I think we'll see Linz on the Minnesota ROKKR again. And then... Yeah, the only issue with this is I feel like I've just put so many players back in the same teams when it just won't be like that at all. I'm actually not sure. See, this is where I maybe have some other players that aren't on this list, but I'm just using the players that are on this list, obviously. It's interesting to see what happens if Max starts competing again next year, because he was, obviously he had his up and down moments last year, but that's an interesting one. I think we'll see Capsidul, you know. I'm actually going to put Capsidul on the LA Thieves. And I know that this probably won't happen. I get that. It won't happen, let's just say. But we're going to do it anyway. And then to finish off the LA Thieves roster, based off the options we've got... Sorry, I'm putting Bance on the Ravens. We need Bance back. Do you know what? We're gonna have Bance nasty. We're just doing it. I don't even care at this point. We're just doing it. I really want to get Clayster on a roster though. Right, I'm actually gonna put Snoopy on the LA Thieves, and I know I just said I don't know if he's even good enough, but we're gonna put him on. And honestly, I like that roster a bit. But obviously, Capsidul and Snoopy already tried it and it didn't work, but they didn't give it enough time, I don't think. I don't know, honestly. I'm not gonna make huge decisions because it's just a draft, isn't it? Minnesota, obviously if they were needing another SMG, could they just get Standy? It's hard because some of these players have been good that just aren't gonna get on this list. I'm actually gonna put Spart on the ROKKR again because I thought he played quite well this weekend. But in the match I watched. And then the other SMG on this roster would be... Who's the best SMG here? I'm just looking for a consistent one, hence why I'm not really going for like a Standy or a Joe Deceives. Like I said, I'm just going off the people that are on this list. Otherwise, I'd be picking other names out the hat. Fame's already been on the ROKKR before. He's had his good moments, he's had his bad moments. What else have I got, or is it just this last spot? It's literally just this last spot. I'm going to change this. I'm going to put Snoopy on the ROKKR. And I'm going to put someone on the Thieves. I'm going to put Joe Deceives back on the Thieves. Because I just don't know who else to put on, to be honest. So there you go. There's my quick draft rosters for next year. Yeah, not a chance. We'll maybe see like a couple of these that have actually got changes in. But apart from that, obviously we won't. That's going to be the end though for this episode of the Roundup. Thank you very much for watching. It is really appreciated. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed. And yeah, until next time, see you later. Peace.